Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
Hashtag look it up. Hashtag look it up. Hashtag look it up.
What is this? Where am I?
Welcome back to the Trebles Show. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make deposits into the bank of knowledge. I want to thank the Lord for allowing me to be here today, and I want to thank every single one of you for allowing me to enter your space. Guys, I am your humble host, Trebles Garcia, and I have an amazing episode lined up with an amazing guest. Before anything, I want to remind you that the most important thing that you could do for the show today is word of mouth, and check us out on all podcast platforms, absolutely free. And if you're on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. Believe it or not, guys, the engagement helps the episodes get pushed out by the algorithm. 1000%. Even if it's a like, even if it's just hey, that's cool, or hey, I didn't like this one, leave some type of engagement. That doesn't only beef up the algorithm, but also allows other people to enjoy and find the show as much as I enjoy making it. So let's jump in from the deep end of the pool and set the freaking mood. She's been here before. She is no stranger to danger. She is a beautiful person that speaks in abundance. She has Christ in her heart, and she has a beautiful message and a brand new book about to be released this year. Dr. Natalie Atwell, returning back. Thank you so much for being here.
So glad to be here. I love these audiences. It's so fun.
Yeah. Hey, where can people find you? Remind them.
Oh, thanks for asking. They can find me on my Instagram or Facebook or TikTok at either Dr. Natalie Atwell or Mental Warrior Consulting.
I haven't told you this, but I had your page up for about a year on my webpage when the show was called Paranoid Radio.
Yeah.
For mental health. I'm very big on mental health. I've gone through mental health. I am a recovering addict, and I'm telling you right now, I always told people to check on their dudes, check on their wives, speak. Sometimes people only need to be part of something, part of a conversation, part of a thought. People just want to resonate, just want to be heard. And a lot of us go through pain. A lot of us go through untouched emotions. We always try to filter it in and just put it into a cap inside a freaking bottle and hold it there. And it destroys you from the inside out. It truly does eat you alive. Your mental state, your emotional state, sometimes even your physical state. And that's what I'm trying to prevent people taking it to a physical realm. Before anything, I want to thank you for what you do. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending the time. Thank you to your publicist. And also, tell me more about the upcoming book. Oh yeah, super exciting.
Well, thank you for your support, and I would second that and really just follow up with saying thank you to anybody doing this work out there because it really matters. There's a lot of people struggling in the area of mental health, and I do think more people are willing to talk about it, so that's a blessing.
Yeah.
But I guess where my book kind of falls in is I have been doing a lot of research, as I've said before, even with you, on mental health and spiritual warfare and sort of the intersection of the two. So I did a deep dive research. I developed a course to try to help other like lay leaders, people just wanting to learn, or mental health professionals. And that morphed into a book because actually a local pastor was like, you've got to put this into a book format.
Mm.
And praise God, through some of the just networking I've done with different podcasts and people like that, I got in touch with Defender Publishing and they decided to publish my book. And so I'm really excited. It's in the editing phase right now, but it's supposed to come out in July. And my 14-year-old son helped me name it. And he said, Mom, I think you should call it Behind Humanity. And then
Whoa.
and
Oh
then
yeah,
I
that's
was like,
good.
I was
Oh,
like,
that's
that's
real
so
good.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because we were talking about it's about mental health and the unseen realm. And so I thought, that's so good, really. Like, what's going
Mhm.
on sort of behind what you really see?
Mhm. Mhm. There is a saying in Spanish. It's cada cabeza es un mundo, which means each head it's its own universe. And what it's implying, what it's trying to say is each person gets stuck in their own realm, in their own world. This is why people say that we're all NPCs, because we're so stuck in this hamster wheel of consumption, production, and just working through life. Not we forget that it's a life that we should create instead of just sleep on or work through. You get me?
Yeah.
I have a strong emotion. I have a strong belief that the powers that be, this is more of a spiritual warfare, and they don't keep us working until 70 so that we can die at 71 by accident. They design it this way. And I don't want to get into conspiracy theories because it's not that type of episode today, but I'm very interested in knowing what is the first chapter. First of all, how did you motivate yourself? What is it that really fuels the opening of the book?
That's a great question. And I would say really finding new ways to help people who are struggling and finding better answers to problems that I've been dealing with clients for years and even in my own life. So I really start the book out with talking about the growing darkness that I've personally noticed in my mental health practice, in the
Whoa.
world at large. So there, I share observations in practice within society and then within the church, because those are the three areas that I really see significant changes, and they kind of encompass everyone to a degree.
May I ask? You said something keyword right now. You said growing darkness. Give me an example, please.
So a good example might be just people's interest as a society at large in darker things, spiritual darkness. So you can, for example, just pull up Netflix or pull up any streaming service and just look at
Mhm.
some of the top shows, and you'll see, man, there's a lot of darkness out there. And how I define that is, I hope the same way other people would be, but it's, just really dark, demonic, seemingly just evil stuff that just feels evil that's out
There's a
there.
reason why true crime podcasts are number one, why that category
Ex-
sells. There's a
Yeah,
reason why
exactly.
when you open Netflix, right? The algorithm feeds you negativity, darkness, witchcraft,
Yep.
Satanism, entertainment, all packaged up in a nice little bowl. And it's the same story over and over again.
Hmm.
And they know how to target the people. They even make you have your own little profile so that it's tailored to what you like. And I say this all the time on the show. You are the algorithm. If you take one moment, a minute to go to the search bar and search out, I want to say Natalie Atwell, right? And
Yeah.
like 3, 4 posts, close the app and reopen it, you'll start seeing more of those posts come on your feed. So it takes you need to have the intent and the love in your heart to love yourself, to stop consuming this garbage.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's
Amazing
very
stuff.
true. It is very true because it will suck you in and it does listen to you. I mean, we all have that story where we've been talking about something and then later it pops up on something on our phone.
Oh
And
man.
it's always listening to you, but they do push a lot of the darkness. And, I really believe that's because there are real evil fallen beings out there behind a lot of this. And they influence people. And what people don't realize is they think it's harmless if they consume some of the things like this. And then they don't realize, we're making a connection to that when you come into a therapist's office and we talk about your mental health.
Hmm.
So that's one of many other things that I had just begun to notice and started asking questions because some of the normal things in mental health either weren't working in the same time stamp that they normally were, or we just weren't seeming to get to the root of what people were really struggling with.
In your experience, what is and I'm gonna say this for the male listeners of the show. What are some of the things that men, and we're gonna go with women too, because there's a lot of weight behind the role of a woman. And I don't say role because, society. But what are some of the things that you've seen that trigger that darkness growth inside a man's brain and heart?
Well, a huge one for men, I would say, is pornography or sexual darkness, sin in that way.
Mm.
And men are not the only ones. Women are struggling with that too, and actually is rising in the population of women. And what's even more concerning is pornography specifically is growing in leaps and bounds in under 18. So those are children and teens. And so that's definitely something I would say is right out the gate would be easy for me to say. And that's dark.
Yeah. Definitely dark. I don't know if I should say this because this is gonna go on YouTube, but it's funny. When I was, I'm putting it in nice words. When I was a teenager growing up, the music I was listening to was about it was rap, right, and hip hop, and the music was telling you how to be a pimp and how to slap a whore and how to sell drugs. And now, just this is just the music part of it of the
Oh
entire
yeah.
Matrix, right? They're talking about how to consume the drug and how to be gay and how to have four different women at the same time and not respect females or your mother yet. That it's a different age and it's very intense, very dark.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you see in women that are
Women,
affecting our culture?
yeah, sexual sin's definitely one there as well. But I would say even things like the desire to control everything or and that leads them into spiritual things that they can manipulate and control instead of having a faith that's releasing that control and giving, yourself over to the one true God. So that leads people into sometimes dark paths, not always, but things like new age practices where it's
Mm,
much easier to, hey, I can buy a curse off of, Etsy or whatever, or I can go to a reading. And then sometimes it's touted as wellness or it's touted as entertainment. So there's definitely, some of that as well for women, but, or it's this, health and wealth of I have to constantly be better. I have to, feed this self-centered outward appearance kind of thing. And there's nothing wrong with caring about your appearance and all those things, but it's like there's such an obsession now.
yeah,
And to change everything about yourself instead of just learning to love who you are and who God made you to be.
I've seen that in my personal life, and I'm not gonna say who, but somebody very close to me. It's same thing, same thing. No, but I'm I used to do meth in my closet and
Mm,
drink a pint of vodka and four tall cans before I got home after work. So I'm
wow.
telling you this from a place of experience. Like I've lived it. There's nothing wrong with loving yourself, putting yourself first, or growing and having an intimate relationship with God. And in throughout that domino effect, spending more time with yourself, cleaning yourself up, grooming yourself, buying yourself some clothes. There's nothing wrong with looking good to feel good inside. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't feel it's wrong. For example, me, I left bad habits and I feel like cognitively I'm doing a lot better. Emotionally, I'm doing a lot better. But there's people that get obsessed on the appearance of other people and they start comparing themselves. Oh my God, I want to get this done. Oh my God, I want to wear that makeup because that person wears it, or inject my body, or put a little bit of fat on this side of my butt, and et cetera, et cetera. So they start trying to mimic things that they are not instead of embracing and loving themselves for how God created them, right? And so much so that they start forgetting the roles, responsibilities, and it starts affecting their personal life in many different areas. So I agree with you. I think women, and you know what? You know, it's funny. Everything that we consume, I want to say 99.9% of everything that we consume in the entertainment and in elements and different things that we even ingest, like food, is directly designed for women, and they have the largest purchasing power statistically in life in the world, specifically in this country. It's designed so that they can be manipulated and then go back home and manipulate the home, kind of like the Adam and Eve story.
Mhm. Oh,
Yeah.
there's a lot of truth in that. And, I'm a strong, independent woman, but I believe God's design is right. And I still need my husband to put me in my place sometimes. I still need him to give me godly advice and leadership and provide that in
Wow.
our home
Yeah.
because I need it. And he sees things in different ways than I do. And he pushes me to be the best that I can be. Never holds me back, in those independent ways, but he always knows when to come alongside and be like, you're not thinking about this right, or you need to do this differently. And he's still very much the leader of our home. And I think that's another thing that really the enemy of the Most High God and those of us who follow him is trying to disrupt homes in that order that God created. And there was a reason that he created it that way. And I think that's another thing. I mean, that there's a lot of women who are just not wanting to really listen to that godly leadership in their husbands, and men need to step up into that role as well. But
Oh
I,
yeah, absolutely. Mhm.
I do think that we see that a lot in counseling. It's just people, and I would say even in the church, like older couples need to model that well.
Let me ask you something. How do you address this? Keep coming full circle back to your book. How do you address this in your book? What are some of the points that you touch in the middle portion of your book?
So I go from noticing the different things to talking about really like my theological framework and what helped me to understand some of the true enemies of humanity and what we're up against and how that manifests in our lives mentally and all the things relationally. And that is through really like Dr. Michael Heiser's work of the unseen realm, because that really helped me conceptualize mental health in different ways. And then I try to help people understand the differences between mental health and spiritual things and how they overlap sometimes. But how do we assess what this issue is? And then once we do that, then there's a modality of treatment, I guess you could say, that I kind of suggest, but it's flexible and it really involves people dealing with each area of their life where they've opened themselves up to evil or gone down some dark paths. And then they have to be willing to walk out of that agreement, walk out of that, whatever connection they've had with it. And for some people, it might be one thing. And for others, it might be a lot. And it's one thing I'll say is a lot of people want to come in and just like the internet, they want quick answers. They want quick, healing or
Mhm.
deliverance or whatever. And in my experience, it takes time.
Oh yeah,
And I like to say love is a long surrender. And
cellular surrender.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it takes a lot of time and people have to be willing again to lay it down and as someone walking out of addiction, it is a lot. It's hard because there's a
Mhm.
relational thing that you have to break off and then create a new bond with something else.
1000%. Oh yeah, it's not easy. I stopped the drinking and consuming meth, and then I got into kratom, and then I got into sugar. So for the people that don't know, I was pre-diabetic, and I had to lower the intake on sugar, eating apples, and all this other stuff. To get into that lane, it was extremely hard because the more you want to walk away from any bad habit, the more it presents to you for free, even. Like, you know how easy it is to walk out the door and collect myself a little bag of meth for free,
Yeah.
fronted. It's, you know what I mean? And then when you're trying to leave it, it's when it's more, you notice it more. It's like when you say, hey, check for anything that looks red. You start noticing the red more. Just like that, your brain starts like looking for it. And then the down, then you have the detoxification of your body at a cellular level, man. Mentally, you're
Mhm.
not, you can't sleep. Sometimes you can't breathe right. You can't focus at work. You lose focus cognitively. I'm telling you, it's a decline before you start rising. It is very difficult for people. That's just with bad habits. Now imagine ego, ego trips, right? And then like as a man trying to walk into a leadership role when everything's already collapsed and you already did so much damage to your family and your wife
Yeah.
that it's almost impossible, that it's easier for to pick up the beer and pick up a freaking, the wine glass instead of continue to fight for the people that you love. It's extremely hard. And I'm telling you from a place where I'm still experiencing it today, the aftermath, it's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. Yeah.
And one of the things that brought of you just sharing your story brought to mind and the ways that the enemies really try to go after humans as well is through simple things that overstimulate us. I mean, we are so overstimulated, not just traffic, not just your phone, but the lights, everything. There's so much going on. You have to do this at your job. You have to do this with your family. There's so much pressure. And you can't be bored. You can't be this. You can't be that. And we fill ourselves with stuff all the time that a lot of times, and I think it's one of the reasons why addiction is growing in a lot of substances is because people are trying to calm their bodies down. They're trying to just turn everything off for a minute because they've been so overstimulated. And that's not something that gets talked about easily. And I think
Mhm.
again, it's not just kids who need to get off of technology, a lot of times,
Oh
or
yeah.
it's us as adults too. We have to learn how to be bored again. We have to learn how to sit in silence.
Mhm.
We have to learn how to rest, not
Wow.
just sleep. And and those are things that really the world has gone after. No, you got to constantly be watching something. You can't just be in your house. You can't just sit outside. You can't
Mm.
do a lot of things.
As basic as that sounds, believe me, guys, it's
Mhm.
a lot harder than you think. I always say this it only takes. Why do you think I tell you guys it only takes 5 seconds of your day to go to the search bar when you have an extension of your body that you can't live without
It's true.
that has a supercomputer with terabytes of information a second accessible at your fingertips. It only takes 5 seconds to do the research yourself. Only takes 5 seconds, but a lot of us don't do it. Why? Because we're distracted, because we're overstimulated, stressed, anxiety, addicted. I've seen things, and this is just on a personal, again, going back full circle. My wife has this thing that we're out in, last night we were out eating with my mother-in-law and my in-laws, and I I'm a millennial. I could live without this. And I put my phone to the side, I started eating my carne asada. It was delicious. But every single time I would turn, either she was putting it down or she was picking it up. And I was like, you know what that is? That's called addiction. You can't
It
spend more
totally.
than 15 to 25 seconds. You put something in your mouth, and you have, yeah, you laugh a little bit, then you go back to the phone. There's no emergency happening. Put your phone away. And the emergency, where you should be living is the present right now with your two beautiful daughters, and so forth and so forth. And we do it like walking zombies. We do it without even intending to do it. It just happens naturally. And that's how you start building on these negative aspects of life. I do have another question. Going back to your book, what is now? This is I want you to lead on this part of the conversation. What is the most important part of the book? Why should I buy the book? Sell it to me.
Oh, I love it. Well, it's really for the person who has a concept, thinks they understand mental health and spiritual things, but they really need to know what is the difference? How do they interact? So it's for that person. It's also for a person who's just curious about the topic and about these things. But then more specifically, I would say it's for the people in the church, lay counselors, family members of people who are struggling
Mm,
and they just can't find answers. They're stuck and they know something else maybe is going on. This can really help you understand that. But it
I like
also
that.
could be for the skeptic who, maybe they have been in the new age and they know that there's some spiritual things out there and they know that it can impact mental health in good and bad ways. But is there another explanation for that?
It's for the person that is in that world and wants a way out. It's a point of reflection. And I like it because you personalize it to what your experiences are. And
Mm,
obviously with Jesus at front, that is very, very potent. I love it.
thank
I I would love to get more details um towards the end of the book. You know what, I'm and I don't want to share this, but I'm writing a book on liminal trees, and it's a thesis, right? So I
you.
sent it out to a couple of friends. You know why I sent it out to a couple of friends? Because I wanted to open other doors. Not because of feedback. I didn't want them to tell me, "Hey, I feel like this is." No, I want them to tell me, "You forgot about this." To grow on it. And I shared it to a couple of my friends that I know that like to read and are also very smart, and that won't spill the beans and share it with other people. Loyal, like a place where loyalty exists.
Right.
And it's exactly what I got back. I got people replying to me and telling me, "You forgot about this. Why don't you explore this area and so forth and so forth. And it opened up different parts of research. Now I could make the book even bigger, more interesting, and inject my personality in it. It's a great way to work on yourself. And I definitely think I'm a cough it up myself, and I'm gonna give it a read, and it's just for curiosity. I'm growing into this as well. So why not help myself with a little bit of information from Dr. Natalie Atwell? I want people to make sure and check her out in the description of the show. Now, I do have another question for you. What's
Okay.
your favorite emotion?
Ooh, I don't know that anybody's ever asked me that. My favorite emotion? Okay, I would say joy.
Mm,
And how I define joy is it's that feeling when you walk into a room and you're with someone who just is happy to be with you. Do you know that? Like, that's the feeling of joy. That's, the emotion that you feel like when someone's just, they don't have to be doing anything. They're just like, oh my gosh, it's Trebles,
hmm
you know?
hmm Yeah. It's funny that you said that today. I was talking to one of my coworkers earlier on, and then your email came in, and I snapshot it, and it's retarded. I know it's hard R. I know I shouldn't be saying that word. I know. Sorry, YouTube, but I snapped a picture and I sent it to her. Her name is Jerry. Mad shout outs, Jerry. If you're listening, salute. I told her, I know this is dumb and I know it sounds childish. I know I sound like a freaking lunatic, but I am obsessed. And it was just a snap picture of you telling me, where's the link? It was something very small. And I told her, I am obsessed with the feeling of knowing that I'm gonna reconnect with someone, get behind the mic, and produce something for my dream. You don't understand how much abundance of joy, respect, self love, preservation, and godly emotions just fill my heart every single time I get behind this freaking mic. And then she
Oh,
goes, dude, your dream is stupid caked up, which means in the streets, it means you have a very powerful dream. And I was like, yes, dude, finally somebody, we're tribing. You understand my emotion. So I agree with you. I think joy is, and it's also one of those things that you get to choose joy. You're coming out of work and you're falling sleepy, and you get to choose to be joyful. It's not like happiness that just arrives. You get to choose to be joyful, and it's a very important emotion. I love doing that question towards the end of the show because it always stumps the person. And believe me, I've had some crazy ones. I've had people say fear and some other extravagant ones. But yeah, man, very powerful stuff.
they're all important, no doubt. They're all important. They're all necessary for us to go throughout life successfully. God gave emotion to us, and it's how you handle it. But I would say definitely that's my favorite one. So, and I love your description of that. I think that's a
Yeah,
great thing. Finding something that brings you joy too is important.
yeah, 1000%. Tell me more. We have enough time to conversate more about where do you want this book to go, and also anything else that you want to bring in. Final thoughts.
One thing that I want it to get into the hands of someone who's questioning and who hopefully it provides some biblical answers for them, something different to think about. And then I want them to give it to someone else. And I really want it to get into the hands of other counselors and other people because there are people in this field who are teaching the opposite. And they're bringing in dark practices and dark things into counseling, calling it wellness, and they don't understand what they're doing. Or other people are dabbling with things and trying things that are maybe helpful in one instance, but they don't know the exchange that's happening with darkness that eventually
Mhm.
is going to lead them down to a dark path. So I really want it to be something that grows and helps people, especially in the mental health field, even in the church field of counseling, to look at things from a different perspective. Because I don't necessarily go easy on the church people in the book either, to be honest, because a lot
Rock and
of
roll.
people,
Hmm
I mean, a
hmm
lot of people have done this type of work dealing with the spiritual things in harmful ways that can re-traumatize people. So I definitely address that in the book as well. But it's just really seeing that there's more going on in the problem of mental health at large than what you can see. It's not just about what people have experienced in their life. It's not necessarily about things that make sense. Sometimes it could be because there are literally dark forces out there who are against humans and want to steal, kill, and destroy. And we need to bring that into the conversation so we can truly help people.
Ephesians 6:12. Believers' struggles aren't against other people, but against powerful spiritual forces of evil, including rulers, authorities, cosmic powers, and even evil spirits, heavenly realms, emphasizing the spiritual battle. So the reason I said that was because you guys think that having anxiety and stress and sweaty palms and all these mental chemical imbalances
Mhm.
is natural, but it's not. It's a spiritual attack on your being and on your family and everything that you are. It's a disconnection. It's you being accused by Satan. That's what it is. In the past, the ancient civilizations used to call these every single thing that we now pharmaceutically or medically have a name for in the name of science. It used to be a name of a demon. Everything. And now we are accepting it just because we relabeled it with a medical term and we allow it to enter our bodies. I'm not against pharmaceutical drugs. I am against you not loving yourself enough to understand or do the research yourself to what you're consuming and how you can better yourself in the right way. The reason I said all of that was because you said something about leaders. How easy is it for a leader that helps other people, like counselors, to get
Mhm.
perverted?
One of the biggest problems is if a counselor or a pastor or anybody in the leadership area over humans, over people who, and they have an influence over them, even as someone as simple as a podcaster, to be honest,
Hmm.
is to think that they cannot be deceived. That is a dangerous place to be in. So a lot of times pastors think I'm doing all these things that are good, and I can find a biblical reference, even if it's kind of twisted, to, excuse this thing. They don't realize they're being deceived. Counselors, we can analyze it in a mental health aspect, and we keep trying the same things, but if we don't ever look at the spiritual part, then we're getting it wrong and we're being deceived as well.
Spiritual components, huh? Hmm. Hmm. I like that. In the
But
movie
the biggest thing
Titanic.
is like not, any of us, if you think
Mhm.
I'm above this thing or I would never do that, that's a dangerous thing to say. I think you have to always be on guard and realize that you could have gotten it wrong, or you could be in the wrong, or you are being deceived at that moment.
In the movie, and the only reason I'm saying this also again is because it touches on something, how easy the Titanic got sunk. Um, they say in a movie, if you guys, I recently watched the movie. That's the only reason why it's coming back into my bed. It's fresh here. I seen the movie on Netflix. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And it has so many little tidbits. And it has, now that I'm a conspiracy theorist and I'm in tuned and I hear things and words and names and I'm like, oh, that's that thing. And it connects Easter eggs galore, right? But they they mentioned four times. They said the unsinkable ship. Not even God can sink this ship.
Hmm.
Down it went. Very interesting. I love that reference.
And I love that you said that because I can't tell you how many churches probably had that exact same mindset before they
Mhm.
sank. They would never say that out loud, but that's how they operate.
1000%.
And that's deception. I mean,
Yes. Ruthless. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is Dr. Natalie Atwell. Please let them know your final thoughts and where can people find you?
I really hope and pray that people will seek out the book Behind Humanity. And you can find it on my website, mentalwarriorconsulting.com. All my social media links are there, all the things. You can also just search that on Instagram or Facebook, TikTok. And I try to put content out there that just really helps people to think about things differently. And the book should be out in July. So if you want to sign up for my newsletter, you can be one of the first ones to be alerted that it's here.
Make sure you
so
let me
much.
know. Send a description. You're welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, believe it or not. And I'm going to say this full-heartedly. This is wholesome for me. This mic, this moment, the time I spend with every single speaker, special guest, the research I make, the audience, the people that engage, the people that don't engage, the people I impact. Believe it or not, this right here allows me to be a superhero, to live my dream, to be the best version of myself. So when I tell you, thank you for spending the time here, it comes from the heart, completely untainted. So I also want to support your book. So send me the description of the book, description, links and everything where you're going to be able to find it. And you got my full support. Whatever you post, I will reshare and promote it as if it was one of my own. And also, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget to drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify and engage on YouTube because that allows other people to enjoy the show as much as I enjoy making it. Peace.